All right, I'll start talking even though it didn't pop up on my screen that we're live. Let's presume that we are. Hello, everyone. There it is. It's on my screen. We are live. I am Alan Younger, and I'm the director of the Small Business Center. And I'm so happy that we partner with Hustle Winston-Salem and Flywheel to offer marketing outside the box every week. Every week. This particular month, we're focusing on virtual event marketing playbook. And here with us is Dominique. Dominique is going to introduce herself for a minute, and then we're going to just jump right in. We're going to continue with a great discussion that we've been having. Every week, we've been learning some new things. We invite you to share with others. I'm about to share this Facebook Live on Facebook, so people in my network have the opportunity to take advantage of this great conversation. With that, Dominique, let me pass the baton over to you.
Thank you so much, Alan, for such a wonderful greeting. And hello, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday's class. I'm so excited to be here today. For those of you that have been with us all month, we are focusing on virtual events, and we are creating our virtual event playbook. So for those of you wondering where that idea comes from, this is a part of my brainchild, a millionaire marketing series that I am developing for business owners because I want to help everyone kind of manage their marketing during a pandemic. So we have been exploring and talking about virtual events the last couple of weeks. And today we're going to kind of follow our same class schedule by having a mindfulness moment, which I'm going to give our mindfulness moment to technology because this morning we had a few, or today, excuse me, we had a few issues just connecting things turning off, not working properly. So I want to remind everyone, put a little bit of buffer in your virtual events so that you have a little time to catch up in case there are incidents that you can't predict. So our mindfulness moment will be dedicated to our technological glitches today. We're going to go into our first lesson and then have a quick coffee break so we could take a breather, hydrate, maybe use the restroom. And then we'll go into our second lesson, have a few closing remarks, and any questions or answers we can go through. I know we are a little behind schedule today, but the last couple of weeks we've been kind of talking maybe 5 or 10 minutes over the time. Today I do have an appointment, so I cannot stay a little longer, but I think we can still get through our lesson and have time for question and answer. So right now, if you could get a little creative with your introduction, and in the chat box, please type something about yourself, your business, who you are. Do a cute introduction for us. I like to use some of the information in the chat box as examples. So just a fair warning, I am very nice and I will give you some help, but go ahead and introduce who you are, what you're doing, or even give me Lorena, I think you shared something very exciting. I was listening before we started the class about you testing out your backdrop. I love that idea. So if anybody has any comments, go ahead and drop a few for her just to kind of encourage her and let her know if it's distracting to you or not. To give you some information about me, my name is Dominique Bercy. I am a nationally ranked public speaker, marketing and human resource strategist, as well as author. And I am on a mission to empower businesses with data-driven tactics to help better serve your customers and increase your profit. So a little bit about me. As you can see, I've been a publisher, a writer, a marketer, a manager of a restaurant, a real estate investor, and an event planner. So I think it gives me a really good kind of diverse look at events and marketing and also making money. Let's be honest. About this course, we are really focusing on event marketing and focusing on how we can build a millionaire marketing strategy. So I'm going to walk you through the importance of in-person and virtual events during a pandemic. The last 3 weeks, we've really been focusing on virtual events. A lot of the things we've been talking about kind of cover both. In person and virtual, but I want to make sure that we also talk about the transition for those of us that have opportunities to have in-person events as well. So that's going to be the next 2 weeks. But the last,
Dominique, let me jump in here.
yes.
Magali, if you're still with us, if you're able to enable the chat, people can provide their introductions like Dominique requested.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And let me see if I'm the host, because I think I am.
Oh, okay.
I can do that. So let me see. I changed the view on my screen so I could see the presentation. Yeah, I think it's disabled. Oh no, I don't think I'm the host. I don't think.
I think Magali's still the host.
Okay, well, if she isn't able, I guess we can maybe on Facebook. If people are on Facebook, and Alan, if you are watching Facebook, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, great. So if we are good to go on Facebook, add your comments or questions in there. And also you can just raise your hand like back when we were in school. And if you have a question or something like that during our coffee break, we can address you there so that we can, work around and continue to move forward. So this course is for anyone on any level, but it's specifically for marketers, business owners, and event planners as it pertains to putting on an event. I am very committed to innovation and technology. So I want to make sure that we talk about technology during our coffee break, during our little chit chats. I like to give you resources that you can use that can start helping you right away. And this month, we've really been focusing on the impact that our marketing is going to make. So we're going to continue the conversation of impact. Last week, we really dove into how you should kind of share your cause marketing or talk about the reason behind your organization or business. So we're going to kind of move into the next phase of how our events have an impact and how we can use our marketing to kind of communicate all of that. And just to remind you, the time commitment is it's actually 5 hours. I didn't realize this month we had 5 Wednesdays. So it is still roughly about 4 hours of coursework, but we're going to have 5 hours of classwork and then about 4 hours of homework. So I always like starting off our course with a statistic. And as I was doing research for today's lesson, I found a statistic that really resonated with me. And it was that it takes about 3 to 6 weeks for the planning of small virtual events. So most people are going to need 3 to 6 weeks to properly promote and plan a virtual event. So I just want us to keep that in mind as we continue with our lesson today, because as we're building our playbook to eventually create our event, we want to keep that time frame in mind because it's very important. So some of these tips are going to help us right away because I know some of us have some events that we're already in the middle of planning, so have no fear. But just so that you can kind of feel comfortable with the pace, that's kind of the mind frame that I want us to be in. So today's lesson is about the communication plan. So we're going to talk about a few essentials with an overarching communication plan, because I want us to think about when we're writing the words for whatever we're writing, or when we've hired the person to write the words for whatever we're writing, are we making sure that we're hitting every channel that we need to hit for our millionaire strategy, right? So sure, maybe a month ago you were posting on Facebook on your personal page. Well, now we're kind of pushing ourselves to think outside of the box, to market outside of the box. And we're going to need to think of our communication plan on a higher scale. So when we're setting up our communication plan, the first thing we need to understand is that our communication must be clear, it must be concise. And because we're in the middle of a global pandemic and civil unrest, I like to include that it should always be compassionate. But I'm really going to push that now, because I think now more than ever, we just really need to remember that compassion has to be a part of our messaging. We just really have to be mindful of how often we're communicating and what we're saying and how we're saying it. So I was actually talking to a friend of mine this week, and he was trying to work through his project plan. And he was telling me about his plan, and it sounded amazing. It was really high level, low level. He's a graphic designer, so he really kind of thought of things from all levels. And I kept asking him, I said, okay, so where's your campaign plan? And he was like, no, my plan is in my head. And I said, okay, let me explain it in the way that I would to my students in class. So I think the way I explained it helped him. So I'll let you know that at another time. But it really got me to thinking how I was going to talk to class about something so like marketing technical in a way that will not intimidate you, right? So, first, we need to understand some of these words you might not be familiar with or hear them in this context. Just let me know if you need me to review anything, but we're going to just keep trucking along. So, the first thing we need to do anytime you have a plan is to write it down. I think last week, if I'm not mistaken, it was, I don't remember who it was, but somebody showed us their notebook, and they said, I write my notes and then I put them in a digital space. And then I do this, that, and the third, and I kind of work through it. So last week we talked about the amazing resource Google Drive. I hope you guys have kind of taken some time to look at your Google Drive and use it to its maximum potential, or at least start. But we started talking about, once you write it, then you got to put it in a digital form. Then you have to take it, brainstorm on it, think about who you can collaborate with, make it bigger, and then you have to put it on your social channels, and then you push it out. So you have to start with something written down, whether that's handwritten, my preference, or on the computer, which is my training. So I do both. You want to decide on a creative concept. Are you going to have creative elements? Nowadays, we have to say yes, because we're putting things on a digital platform where there's so much other stuff going on that we have to resonate with the people we need to resonate with. So, thinking high level, thinking from a graphic designer standpoint, what does that mean? Do I just want to change the background of my virtual class? Do I want to take these beautiful scenes and put them on a flyer so that people are used to seeing them beforehand, so that when we're in class, the design carries through the email to the social ads to when they see my beautiful face? I mean, these are all things that we really could be pouring into and thinking about as we try to make impactful and more strategic, creative, and communication plans. And then we also need to decide which messaging platforms we're going to use and standard practices. Wow, I know those are three really heavy bullets. And I intentionally made them heavy because once you work through it, your plan flows so much easier. The last sentence I said was decide your messaging platform and standard practices. So that means you need to know what the essential elements of those platforms are. Now, because we spent all of last month talking about email marketing, we're not going to go too far into email marketing, but if you need to watch those videos, you can watch them on Hustle's page as well as FlorMarie's page. But to give you a quick kind of snapshot of a few different channels and a few different recommendations, I chose email. If you remember last week, we were saying that when we write our plan, whether it's handwritten or in our Google Doc or Word doc or notes, wherever we have our idea, when we go into that kind of a rough draft, we then need to develop more words or more information, more content for whatever we're planning to talk about, whether it's an event or an article or whatever it is. So since we're thinking in the event mindset, we have our plan that's written down that says on Tuesday, December 18th, I want to have a virtual event where if someone could unmute themselves and just tell me their business really quickly, or Alan, if you could give me a comment or an introduction of a random student that has a business or has done an introduction.
I bet Lorena or Marlene would love to introduce themselves. Am I wrong, ladies?
Have we heard from Lorena and Marlene before in this month?
Yeah, I spoke on the first meeting.
Okay.
Difference, and now I think I have the name for my business.
Oh, well, that's good. Well, Lorena, if everyone is okay with Lorena, with me using Lorena as an example today, I can do that if that's all right. Okay, Lorena, and just in 30 seconds, if you could remind me of who you are, what you are here representing.
Okay, the name of my business, Lorena Muñoz, with the business name Pilar Financiero, like a pillar, but it's my middle name, and actually it serves the purpose for the name. It's personal finances, like financial literacy in Spanish. So I went
awesome.
with Pilar Financiero.
Oh my goodness, congratulations, Lorena. I remember the first class when you started talking about this. I mean, that introduction was beautiful. It seems very well rehearsed, and you sound very confident. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we're doing financial literacy in Espanol, but I'm gonna speak in English for the sake of speed, honestly, because I probably could do it in Spanish, but it would take a while.
No worries.
So let's say Lorena is going to have an event in December on a Tuesday where she is actually going to bring some of her network together. She is going to feature 3 speakers, and it's going to be a conversation about opening a business banking account. And now she has to send an email, or now she's got her brainstorming paper. She's been writing like a busy bee. Now she's taken that paper and she's typing on the computer some of her messaging, some of her ideas. This document, when I was working at a nonprofit and I created a document for our team, it was called the campaign plan. So it literally at the top, I just wrote a paragraph. What am I doing? What am I talking about? Why? Who is coming? What is this? I would write that paragraph, and then from that, I would say the first channel, email. What is something essential in email that we need before we even get to what we're saying in the email? Let's just have a little fun. We need a catchy subject line, right? And this is something that we can do as we're watching TV or kicking our feet up, and we're doing that kind of more passive brainstorming, if you will, because sometimes I have to get creative, especially during quarantine. So as I'm kind of kicking my feet back, I might go through my emails in my inbox, and I might say, let me see what these email addresses are saying. Oh, this is a cute subject line. Oh, look at that cat. Oh, that popped out at me. Oh, this is interesting. Cat lovers, they are everywhere. Pet lovers. Sometimes depending on a holiday, depending on the time of year, fall is on its way. So isn't it spring forward, fall back? If you start thinking about it now, you're going to start seeing emails with those kind of subject lines, right? So we need catchy subject lines in our emails that are going to get people to open. But what does that mean as it pertains to events? Well, first, we can think about a few examples. So I jotted 4 examples down, but these are very kind of simple, and that's intentional, right? Because think about how you check your emails most times. It's on a cell phone. You don't have as much space, right? More importantly, people are getting hundreds of emails a day. It doesn't mean you don't check them. You just check the ones that stand out. So make sure you're saying something, get to the point. all these words, honestly, people don't want to read all those words. They want to see what you're saying, kind of like headline news, you know? So try saying something like announcing Lorena's something, I don't know, Pilon and the bank, Pilon and business. I don't know, something nice and kind of with that voice. Or even the event name, are you ready? Question mark. Um, Tune in on Tuesday. Sometimes when you say things like that, tune in on Tuesday, don't miss it on Tuesday. Tuesday, don't forget, exclamation point. Sometimes people will say, oh my goodness, what's Tuesday? Lorena's emailing me. Let me open this email and see. Oh gosh, she did tell me Tuesday something was going on, right? And then I would say another very big major reminder that we're going to talk about with email marketing is making sure we have a call to action. What do you want these poor people to do whenever they get onto your email, whenever they open your sweet email and they're so happy to hear from you? Oh my goodness, Lorena, bless her heart. I'm so happy to hear from her during the pandemic and she's reminded me about something on Tuesday and my poor heart. Oh my God, I can't wait to hear from her. Oh, she wants me to register for her event. Great. Where do I do that? What does it look like? Is there a hyperlink? When I click it, does it work? So remember, we have to kind of think, what do we want people that don't have a lot of time to see and do in our emails as we're brainstorming, right? Because we're still in the planning phase. I'm going to kind of take us to the action after the email. So once they get the email, once you decide, okay, this is the call to action. This is the CTA. When they click it, where do they go? Now for this class, for example, there is a link for the Zoom meeting. So we are actually finalizing the emails to send out all the presentations, from August and September. So please bear with us as we work through our technological advances. I'm going to talk about this during the coffee break, but a lot of companies are experiencing a lot of growth right now. So you might be experiencing a lot of glitches and fails and softwares updating and things. So thank you for your grace as we get that email together. But once the email goes out about these presentations and the courses that have been recorded, you're going to need to take people somewhere. Now, a lot of people might not have a website. So nowadays we use different things that function as maybe mini websites or mini landing pages, or even a lot of social channels now have posting abilities that act as landing pages, if you will. So like a Facebook page is a landing page on Facebook. If you think of your website the same way you think of Facebook, which you should, your website is facebook.com or your website is dominiquebercy.com. Your landing page could be dominiquebercy.com or www.FlorMarieConsulting.com, but it builds off. So just think of it as a hierarchy of social real estate, social digital real estate. So a landing page is something that's quick and it gets you to your information. Eventbrite, they also allow people to have a landing page. So you'll notice once you create your event, you get a website, essentially. That essentially is a landing page of sorts. So when you have these landing pages, whether they're on your website or on a third-party site or on a social channel, you want to make sure that you're using creative imagery and that you are using high quality stock images, high quality logos. You want to make sure you have all of those items and documents saved in a drive or a cloud so that you can give multiple people access if that's how your operation works. I'm hoping that you have some type of support. So you want to kind of not only plan to have those things, but think about where those things are going to live. Think about where you're going to get those things. Are you going to get images from your high quality reservoir treasure chest, or are you going to go to a place where you can either get free stock images or paid images? And if you're partnering with people, do you have everyone's logo? Do you have your logo? And if you have everyone's logo, can you get colors that work with your promotional items? And if not, how are you going to work with that? I don't think it's a huge deal, but sometimes those are things that people want to think about. So think about those things as you write your playbook. As we talk about links, images, and messaging, the most important parts of the landing page or the website or the page that people go once they click the email, or once they click that social media ad, or once they click that call to action, that page, who is hosting this? So many times I go to pages and I don't know who is hosting it. Lorena, if you don't tell us the name of your business, how are we going to tell other people? So make sure you take a moment and say, if I didn't know what was going on and I just opened my eyes and I saw this page, would I know who was hosting it? Where do I register, or where do I buy a ticket? Where do I do the transaction? What is the program? What are we talking about? Why am I even here? What are we, what is this? Why do I care? And is there something extra? Can you surprise me? Can you delight me with something? Is there something that's going to make me excited to be here or to come back? And as we kind of think of those things and kind of flush out our ideas, we also need to kind of take a moment to remember we're marketing. We're thinking about marketing right now, right? So every class, I like to highlight a specific type of marketing. I felt digital marketing was the best kind of marketing definition to kind of dig into, because with our virtual transition and honestly with the digital revolution that's happening, we have to get familiar with understanding just how vast digital is. And I don't know if Magali popped back on the call, but Magali, if you're back in the call, can you activate the chat box? If you can.
I don't think she's back on the call. I think she just left it open since she's the host.
Oh, okay.
But everyone is welcome to do what Lorena did, and that is follow this in Facebook Live as well as Zoom. And in Facebook Live, the chat feature does work, and I'll be happy to relay those what's typed there to this audience in Zoom.
Yes, Alan, thank you so much for the reminder. Facebook Live. There's so many lives. It's a lot to keep up with. So I'm so grateful for you, Alan, and I'm so grateful for just all the support and all the flexibility of everyone. So thank you. And in the digital age, we have to have our buffers. We have to have our teams. Please do not do this alone. There are people that want to support you, that want to answer questions, that want to be the moderators of your chat box. There are people that want to, support you and see you do well. I'm going to go into it in the coffee break, but I just want to make sure we don't forget. We're going to talk about technology updates, and then we're going to talk about digital support. Okay. So digital marketing refers to advertising derived through digital channels such as search engines. So remember, Google, Bing, and there's a few more. I don't know all their names because I'm loyal to Google. But back in the day, AOL was a search engine. So search engines is a category on its own, okay? Websites or landing pages. Social media. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, Pinterest, TikTok, Snapchat, there's so many. There are maybe 5 major ones, 3 kind of dominating. Facebook kind of owns all of them. So that's why we talk about it so much. We just exist in the digital space. Email, that's my favorite category. Email, that's the most lucrative category. Email. And then mobile apps, right? So not only the apps that are on our cell phone, but also text messaging and mobile communication. So let's kind of expand our breath when we say digital marketing. And then let's think of using these online media channels as ways to endorse our goods, our services, and our brands. So now is the time for our coffee break. For those of you that need to just take a sip or do a stretch or check a comment box, please do so. I'm gonna take some of my tea. I'm actually enjoying, I have a client who is a herbalist and he has a stress tincture, and I've been drinking it with my stress tea just to kind of make sure I keep my stress at bay. And I drink like 2 of these a day of tea. So I don't know. I just felt like sharing a little bit of wellness with everyone. Alan, do we have any questions, or does anyone have any questions about what we've talked about so far?
No, there are no questions. The chat on Zoom has now been enabled in case people
Oh, right.
But
Okay.
there's no questions on Facebook either.
Okay.
Dominique, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hi, Marlene. How are you?
Okay, how are you? I do have a question. And it may be a silly one, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
No question is a silly question.
You just said that email is the most lucrative. Can you explain why?
Absolutely. I'll take a moment to explain that, and it's actually right on point with what I was going to talk about anyway, so we'll kind of make it through. So email is the most profit, it creates the most profit because it's the most affordable. When you think about your return on investment, the way you communicate with people costs money. So at some points, some businesses can communicate on the free level, right? So you can do an organic post on social media. You can send an email in Gmail to everyone that you know. You can even sign up for like Active Campaign in our last month. I think you remember we were talking about those email platforms that once you have more than 500 people, once you have more than 30 people, in my opinion, that you're talking to, you should go to an email platform. But when you have between 1 and 500 people, you can go to a platform and have a free platform where you send marketing communications out. So there are multiple ways to send free emails. But once you start looking at the paid, once you start paying to communicate with people, so once you have 501 people to email, once you have an ad that you want to put on social media that you want to expand to more than just the 5,000 people you know, and you start putting dollars behind it, dollar for dollar, email is always cheaper because you can send more emails to more people more frequently. And to be honest, from a millennial standpoint, and just to dive into my mindset as I speak for, I guess, myself, I don't get as bothered with email because I can control my inbox better. So there are people that I do want to hear from. And like I said, sometimes I look at emails just to see what's going on. Maybe I just want to see what's happening, and I can control it. And for me to still then click the email, go directly to the sale item, go directly to the checkout cart and send money. That's what we mean in the marketing world when we say email is the most lucrative. Whereas with social media, remember that's your commercial. So you're doing a commercial, then you got to tell people to go to your website, then they have to go to the website, then they have to put the thing in the cart, then they have to, or you put the item that you're selling and then a link, but still there are more steps. So that's what I mean. And does that answer?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's why I tell people, and it's interesting because a lot of people will tell we're just going to take a moment and just have like a real coffee break, because a lot of people will tell an expert what they think and know. And it's interesting to see how the expert responds. And as I've been working with experts for different reasons, whether it's for my health, you know, I'm that patient that goes to the doctor. I'll be like, hey, doctor, this is exactly what's wrong with me. And he'll say, oh, yeah, well, let's check your blood sugar as well. Let's check your blood pressure as well. Let's check all these other things as well. And then he'll say, I'm so happy that you're invested in your health. I'm so happy you know this information. Let me give you more information, because that's how experts should work, right? So, you know, I'm a Leo. I just had my birthday, so I'm practicing. Thank you. I'm practicing how to not only always be a teacher, but always be a student, right? We have to listen and give as business owners, as teachers, as students. So as we talk about emails and teaching and communicating with people, this week I have had so many issues with communication and technology that I had to take a moment and kind of dial everything back. Like I had to just slow everything down, because I was having conversations with friends that didn't make any sense. I was mixing up. I was like, did I dream that? Or was that when I was watching TV? Or was I awake? So I could tell my communication was foggy. And I said, okay, wait, what would I do if I were at work? And I said, well, actually, my work communication has been foggy. Zoom has been glitching all week. My trying to download my PDFs was just, and I said, okay, let me take a moment and ask for a little bit of grace from the class and also from my business partners. Let me make sure I communicate via text. Oh my gosh, hey, oh yes, actually, I'm just seeing this. I'm on it. Let me take a moment and say, oh, I need a sip of tea, a sip of water, a sip of coffee, because sometimes things will shift us in technology and it could throw off everything else, right? So if your link is not correct in your email for people to get to the event, then they're not going to come. So then when you're looking at your analytics, you're going to say, oh, the email is not a channel we should use, because this email, people didn't even open it. And when they opened it and they clicked the link, they didn't even buy a ticket. Well, now that you know that you set your plan up properly, you can go through and check all of your systems and say, actually, we checked the bounce rate in this email. We noticed it was very high. So there must have been something going on. Or actually, we tested the subject line, because we test in marketing, we test everything. And we found that this subject line doesn't work well. So we tried another one based on an email I got from Hustle Winston-Salem. Oh my gosh, that subject line was so funny. I decided to use it myself. So we tested a new subject line, and we found this one subject line, the email that we sent that week, it didn't perform well. And then we also found the link that we put in the email, there was something wrong with it. We forgot that little slash, you know, that last slash at the end. Whenever you scroll, you hyperlink, and then you just knew you clicked the whole thing, but you forgot that last slash. Well, because of that, nobody could click the email and send it, but we were able to catch it. And we were able to catch it because Dominique taught us in August that when we create emails, we have to test them. So we're going to send a sample email to ourselves. We're going to send a sample ad to ourselves. We're going to send a sample communication to ourselves and to our team, so that we could check and make sure that we haven't had glitches, that our technology hasn't had glitches, or that our team, our communication hasn't had glitches, right? So yeah, that's kind of how I've been dealing with my glitches of the week. I have been slowing down, taking a coffee break, getting a nice cozy blanket, listening to some music, and saying, okay, we have been talking for 3 minutes. Now it's time to get back in the lesson. And if we don't have any more questions, we're going to go right into what your plan is. My tea was so hot, I couldn't even take a sip. So now that we've kind of loosened up, we're a little loose to the idea of our communication plan. You know, we know that we have a lot of channels to choose from. So we're going to start with a few. We're not going to overwhelm ourselves. We're going to take heavier channels and create the content there. And then we're going to create all the other channels from that larger rough draft, right? So Lorena, we've already written your first paragraph on your campaign plan, right? On that piece of paper. Now we're moving to the next thing. We already got the framework for the email because we're just planning right now. Our feet are up. We have the subject line. We know the call to action is going to be register for the event. Now we know we have to have a landing page, a social channel, somewhere that people are going to go to register, or somewhere people are going to go to get more information to register or do whatever. So now we have landing page, website, social channel, whatever we choose. And now we have to figure out what happens next. So, or what happens with, to be honest, when I'm writing in the planning phase, I just get my ideas out. I just write the word Facebook/LinkedIn. I write the word blog/article. I write those words as titles in my playbook because I'm going to go in and fill it in with information later, right? So under the blog category, and it depends, right? Am I writing a blog about this? Or am I do I have a vlog? Is there a video about this? Is there something on my website about this? And this can be the event, the topic that's going to be discussed at the event, or it could be so many things, right? But a blog is a channel that is used for larger formats and longer formats of communication and conversation, right? So let's think in the realm of 500 plus words. Then we have our email/newsletter. Now we're in the plan again. So now I'm under blog, article. Now I write email, newsletter. An email or a newsletter should have between 50 to 125 words. Now, if you take a look at your emails today, and if you look at your emails, I guarantee most emails that have more than 125 words lose their audience around the 126th word. Because remember, people's attention spans, we are talking about marketing. We are not talking about trying to give everyone the entire recipe, right? We're trying to get people to go to the website. We are trying to pull people back to our home, back to our real estate. So our blogs and our articles usually live on our website. They live on our digital real estate. So when we're sending a communication out to say, hey, we have a new article. Hey, we have new information. Hey, we have an event. We need to be brief, concise, and to the point. We have to remember we are guests in people's inboxes, right? Moving on to another channel, right? So now I'm on my plan. Now I hit enter and I say Facebook, LinkedIn. The reason I put Facebook and LinkedIn together is because they are both short form communication platforms, but they have grown so rapidly and they allow for more words. So they're in this very interesting medium space, but I'm very apprehensive to use that word because as a wordsmith, I realize we use too many words and we use too many words in the wrong channel. So maybe not necessarily just the wrong way, but the wrong channel. So when we're on Facebook and when we are on, I'm sorry, did anything happen to the screen on your end? No. Yes, it got smaller. Okay. How's that? Okay. See what I mean? Okay. Thank you for that. But when we are on Facebook and LinkedIn, we need to remember, even though it allows us to write, I think you have like 60,000 characters that you can write in a post. So that means letters, spaces, emojis, but you don't need to use all 60,000, right? So a good practice is to use between 50 and 75 words, depending. And let's be honest, depending on your flexibility, depending on your industry, depending on the time of day, depending on your audience. I mean, so many things could affect this number. I don't want anyone to be stuck to any specific number, because I did years of research and there's not a number, right? But we have to be mindful of what people's attention span can handle. And let's be honest, on Facebook and on LinkedIn, the way the feed is now like a news feed, we go through it a lot quicker. So we need punchier words that get to the point and that lead us to wherever else we need to go for more information. So we need to remember our hyperlinks, our hashtags, our images, and our calls to action. There's that CTA again. And think about it from a strategy standpoint. We have said call to action more in this class than a lot of other words. So when you look at emails, what words do you usually see when you click the hyperlink? Sometimes it says click here. Sometimes it says learn more. Sometimes it says join me. Sometimes it says contact us. So think of those words as you're doing your high level playbook writing and planning. And so yes, I also put Facebook and LinkedIn together because the way that the hashtags and hyperlinks show up, they are more similar than not. So I can write my copy for Facebook. Join us for our virtual event on Tuesday in December with Lorena. Here's the link. Here's an image. Here's a flyer. And then I'm kind of moving on to the next channel. And now that Facebook has pages, LinkedIn has pages, there are ads, there are posts, there are so many different ways to send messages. You really have to know what you're sending and what the requirements are for that thing, and what the standard practices are for that thing. You don't want to put a message on LinkedIn that should be on Instagram, because you're mixing up who you're talking to and how you're speaking to them, right? So just think about that as you explore your audience, who you're talking to, and where they exist. And as we kind of move on into the plan and continue on our channel journey, I like to put Instagram and Twitter together. Now, I will say that, first of all, I have the names and the logos switched. That's so funny. But second of all, Instagram is owned by Facebook. So there are some parallels and there are some plugins and add-ons and synergies that you can have, honestly, with all of your platforms. So I don't want you to get confused in this conversation as I lay it out here. But when you think of Instagram and Twitter, I want you to think from a standpoint of short form communication, images, videos, call to action. These posts can be anywhere from 1, and I say 1 because nowadays we're using emojis a lot, so that an emoji can give off an emotion. So if you have restricted characters, maybe try using an emoji if you want to say we love you instead of LOVE, because that takes up 4 characters as opposed to a heart. So think of your messaging, think of your plan, and think of what you need to know for that category. So now that we're on the plan and we've put Instagram, Twitter, now we can say, do I want to write a blog? Is there a blog that I've already written? Is there an article that speaks to this? It doesn't even have to be an article you've written. It could be an article that you want to reference. But is there more information about this event, this idea, this conversation that we're going to have virtually? Am I going to send an email as a form of communication, whether it's through your Gmail or through your automated email process? Are you going to send an email? Are you going to share it on social? And is it going to be long form social, short form, or what? As we continue the conversation about social media, digital marketing, we have to talk about paid advertisements. Now, this conversation of paid advertisements could be a course in itself. So I'm going to be extremely high level, but I want you to leave knowing that these are all ways that you can communicate your event, right? Because that's what we're doing. We're developing the plan for our event and how to tell people about it. Now, if we have a budget that allows for paid advertising, Dominique I already shared, email is going to be the cheapest for you. So that's how you can get in touch with everyone the fastest and the cheapest once your system is set up. Let me make sure I say that part. So when we're thinking either email or a paid advertisement, like with a Google advertisement. So sometimes in your email box, like if you have a Gmail account, if you look at the top of that Gmail account, right under the search box, there's a little hyperlink there, and it'll usually tell you about whatever you've been searching, honestly, Medicaid, puppy food, hair care products, social media channel enhancers. It's a little ad. You don't really pay attention to it, but it's always there. That is a paid ad on a search engine. Remember, Google is a digital platform that we can communicate on and search on. So that's a paid ad on Google. So when we think of the different types of ads on Google, we need to understand that there need to be certain components to that ad. Those components include links. Where are you sending people? Images, sometimes, right? Because sometimes on Google, depending on how much you pay, you can have an image. Most times on Facebook, when you have a promoted ad, there is an image. Most times on Instagram, when you have a promoted ad or an organic ad, there is an image. So links, images, and then what is your message, right? And think about an ad. You don't have as much space as an email. So do you have character limits? And if so, what are they? Do you also need to know sizing, right? That little strip in Gmail, that little text of email, that's a certain limit. You have to have, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, it's 30 characters. I think it's between 30 and 45 characters. So what would you say in 30 to 45 characters? Can you use an emoji in a Google ad? I don't believe you can in the email ad for Google. I don't believe you can. And what is the call to action? Where do people go to get more information? So we have about 2 more minutes before the class is officially over, but I'm gonna kind of need maybe about 5 to 6 more to finish the slides. But for those of you that do have to hop off, I just wanna kind of let you know we're gonna go over kind of the schedule of when you should do what. So 2 weeks before, you should email your supporters about your event. 1 week before, you should start your social campaigns. So your social posting, your tags, your hashtags, your images. The day before 3 days before, you should send a reminder email. And 1 day after, you should send a thank you email. Now, these are very high level. This is high level. This is we have a lot of diverse industries and groups in our class today. So I want to make sure that this is going to help everyone. So I just want to say there can be more, but this I think is a good place to start as a minimum. Right? So 2 weeks before, you want to email your supporters about the event so that they know about the event. Then social, then another email, then another email. Now, if that is your choice of channel, that's kind of the cadence, that's kind of the send rotation that I would say. I would say the frequency changes depends on how many people you're talking to, depends on your different audiences. It depends on your strategy and your plan for your business. As we do with every class, I want to remind you of a resource that we talked about last month, but this is such an important part of my strategy that I had to remind everyone about later. Later is a marketing platform that started off exclusively for Instagram. But as we've been talking about, companies growing, mergers happening, and all the things in the digital time, we come to see that Later has now updated so they can actually help you schedule for Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter. Now, there are a lot of scheduling platforms out there. Later is one of my favorites because the synergy between Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter is very helpful for me, because then I can do 3 major social media platforms at one time, right? But that works for me and my audience. A lot of people in our class have customers that are on LinkedIn. I do not use a scheduler outside of LinkedIn for LinkedIn, because I can just go into LinkedIn and schedule a post, just like with Facebook. So have no fear. If you're not at the place or at the point of having a social channel, don't worry. When you are ready, Later is an amazing platform that allows you to kind of take all of your words that you wrote in that Word document or that blank document, and kind of put them in a way that makes sense in accordance to the parameters and the specificities of the platform. And just it's an easy way to make sure everything goes out at the time it needs to go out, and that it looks how it should look. Now, I do understand that having a system like that requires that you have someone to manage that system. But I will tell you that social media managers make a lot of money managing those systems, because if you have the budget, it can work wonders for you. So yeah, those are my kind of millionaire tips and tricks for this week. We do not have much time left. Alan, I will let you kind of close out officially, and then we can go into anything else for a minute or two before I gotta hop off.
So officially, let me say thank you very much for another session of Virtual Event Marketing Playbook. It's been full of some great information, and I'm glad you've got that slide on the screen. Well, it's gone now, but anyway, it's all right. It's all right. Let me just say thank you on behalf of the Small Business Center, Hustle, Winston-Salem, and Flywheel. We have a great partnership that we've had in place for some time, and we offer marketing outside the box every week. So those who have to go, we certainly understand. But if you've got a couple minutes, Dominique, there may be a few questions from those of us who are here on Zoom together.
Sure. I'm actually looking at the chat just to look at comments like Magali always does, which I love so much. You have no idea how nice it is to just get some engagement and get feedback. And if I could just give you a little tip, when you're doing your virtual events, I encourage you to talk to the people that you're talking to. I really don't like doing virtual events that are so like unengaging. because like I said, we're in the middle of a pandemic. There's a lot going on. Everyone's time is very valuable. So you want to make sure that you're being informative, that you're being concise, that you're being clear, and that you're being engaging. And I think a part of engagement is reading chat boxes, asking people what their thoughts are. Lorena, thank you so much for asking us our opinion about your background. I think, in my opinion, it looked good. It wasn't distracting to me at all. But you know, that's just me. I didn't know if anyone else had a comment on that. And in the Zoom, we don't have any questions. So if we don't have any questions on Facebook, I'm going to say thank you so much for having me this week.
Great. No, we don't have any questions on Facebook. So
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Oh my gosh. I didn't give you guys a homework assignment this week. Well, it didn't make it to the presentation. It didn't make it to the presentation. There's definitely a homework assignment, but the assignment is really to just take what we've learned today and start writing that playbook, start writing that plan out. Ask yourself the question of, what am I doing? Who am I doing it for? What is the impact I want to make? Where am I communicating this? And what are the goals? So good luck. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. We'll see you next week.
all right, take care, everybody.
Bye.
So let me text Magley so she can turn off the live. Or Magley. Okay. Right. I guess if I just end it, that'll turn it off.